there, and away we go. Paula.
Thanks, Rowan. My name is Paula Melvin, and I'm the Student Awards Manager with the Fulbright Commission in Ireland. So you may be aware, J. William Fulbright set up the Fulbright program in 1946 in the United States. It is now run in 180 countries worldwide. In 1957, the Fulbright program was brought to Ireland, and since 1991, the commission is an official commission. And the rationale behind the Fulbright program is educational exchange can turn nations into people, contributing as no other form of communication can to the humanizing of international relations. Who is Fulbright for? So basically, Fulbright opportunities are for passionate, accomplished people who are students, scholars, artists, teachers, professionals from all disciplines. So when I first heard of the Fulbright program, I thought it was just for Irish speakers. And I think sometimes people from science backgrounds or history backgrounds think that it's only for their disciplines, but no, we've had volcanologists, you name it, we've had mathematicians, we've had numerous different people from different backgrounds apply to the Fulbright program from the United States and from Ireland to go to the States from various different backgrounds, from different disciplines to research, study, teach and lecture in the United States. So what exactly does Fulbright provide? So there's a monetary grant, and we'll be providing the maximum stipend you can receive later on in the talk. Visa administration, so you'll go to the States on a special Fulbright visa, accident and emergency insurance, cultural and professional programming, ongoing support and links to a global network of Fulbright alum. Sorry, my internet appears to be a little bit slow. So I might ask Rowan, can he start sharing the slides? Sorry, this happened before. Yeah, the best part about the global network of Fulbright alum is that Fulbright doesn't have to just stop after your 3 or 4 or 12 months in the United States. You can come home and join the Ireland United States Alumni Association and the Irish Fulbright Alumni Association, and you can become a campus ambassador like Catherine Lean. We have an ambassador on nearly every campus in Ireland. Thank you, Rowan. And you can become an interviewer and a reviewer and get really involved. Your Fulbright does not have to stop after your award stops in the States, and that's something very, very important. There really is kind of lifelong engagement, if you so wish. Can I get you to scroll to the next one and the one after that? Thank you so much, Rowan.
That's the one, or?
Thank you. Yeah, perfect. It really is the experience of a lifetime, and the recognition, the global recognition that comes with Fulbright is fantastic. As I'm sure Catherine Lean, Dr. Catherine Lean, who's a senior lecturer and head of Spanish and Latin American Studies in Maynooth University, is going to share her experience of her Fulbright award now.
I think you are muted there.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Great. I'm not being allowed to share my screen, it seems, Rowan. I did just email you my presentation, if that would be easier.
I'll just stop sharing here and you should be able to now. There you go.
Thanks, Lillian. Okay, apologies now because I'm more used to Teams. Okay. Green.
So if you see it down the bottom there should be a little green share screen button, and then pick.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's not allowing me, I'm afraid.
I will just quickly download this.
Thank you. Yeah, apologies now. I was teaching right up to 6 o'clock, I'm afraid, so a little bit disorganized here. As we were saying then, I mean, obviously, I think I couldn't speak highly enough about the experience of being a Fulbrighter, and I just wanted to talk you through my experience a little bit. So it's the next slide, please. And just to highlight a few areas that I have found since I've become a Fulbright ambassador that people talk a lot about and ask about. So I'll briefly then summarize my own experience as a Fulbrighter. And I was in Santa Barbara in California in 2008, and I went there because that was a very important centre for the project I was working on. But I have found, although 2008 seems like a very, very long time ago now, that I've had continuing benefits from being a Fulbrighter even 13 years ago now, and that has inspired me to continue to be involved with the Fulbright programme. So if you could get the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is an image from the UC Santa Barbara prospectus. And I suppose why choose Santa Barbara seems like a bit of a rhetorical question, especially as we're in lockdown. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Southern California, and especially a campus that's on the coast and near beaches and so on. But I did have some serious reasons for going there as well, because as I've mentioned, I was working on a project. So my area of specialism is Latin American studies, but more recently Chicano studies. And Chicano studies involves the Spanish-speaking population of the United States, and particularly people of Mexican descent. So Santa Barbara has been a key center in Chicana and Chicano studies since the 1960s. And you can see there a display of some of the work that students produced. And it was a very vibrant place to be in terms of activities and having contact with people who are, you know, the foremost scholars really, or certainly amongst the foremost scholars in the field. And there were some elements of the experience that I wasn't expecting, such as the hazardous skateboarding on campus. And that was actually the building I was working in there in the background. And without exaggeration, it would take you 5 minutes to cross that little stretch of path most mornings, because you had some skateboarders going along there and not taking any prisoners, to say the least, you know. So that wasn't the most you know, fun thing about being on that campus, but I think if that's the worst thing I can say about it, it's pretty good. So if you could go to the next one, please, Rowan. So one of the obvious, you know, advantages of being in the place is that you get to meet some very interesting people. And as I've said, Santa Barbara is a key center for Chicano studies. So there were a lot of conferences and a lot of events going on while I was there. And one of the people that I met was Jesus Trevino, who is a very important activist, film director and documentary making. And the image on the left there in black and white is Jesus Trevino in the 1960s, where he's documenting the Chicano involvement in civil rights protests and so on. And he's also a key figure because he made a documentary funded by the Mexican government that tried to help Mexican people understand the diaspora in the United States, because there was a lot of negative stereotyping of Mexican Americans as being out of touch with their culture and losing their language and so on. And Trevino wanted to correct those damaging images of Chicanos through his film. So that was one fantastic experience, you know, being able to meet such a renowned figure. And another person that I met, and this is the next slide, please, Rowan, was Dan Guerrero. And Dan Guerrero coined the term Gaytino because he's a gay man who's also Latino, and he has a one-man show called Gaytino. Now, we haven't managed to bring that to Ireland yet. I'm working on that. But some years after I met Dan again in Santa Barbara, and this is the next slide, please, Rowan, we were fortunate enough to be able to invite him to Maynooth as part of a conference that I organized. And that image in the middle there is about his film. It's a documentary about his father, Lalo Guerrero, who is a very important musician in the United States and Mexico. And Dan screened the film. It was actually the European, not only the Irish, but the European premiere of the film. And we did an interview afterwards, which was fantastic. And I produced a book with my co-editor, Niamh Thornton, which talked about the way in which Chicano studies, which has often been seen as a kind of ethnic studies in the United States, is in fact, you know, relevant internationally. And another example of the importance of what's often called the Fulbright family, is the context that you can have through it. So it's not just the people you meet, obviously that's a wonderful aspect of it, but some years after that, when I was working on this book, I came across the film Real Women Have Curves, and I was hoping to interview the director, Patricia Cardoso, and I had no luck whatsoever. And then I realized she'd been a Fulbrighter, and through the Fulbright network, I managed to meet her and have a very interesting interview with her. So, you know, the links and connections that you will make will really stay with you for the rest of your life, you know, and it's a very enriching experience. So if we could move to the next slide, please, Rowan. Oh yeah, this is Sylvia Morales. She's another person who I contacted and whose interview became quite an important part of another project that I worked on. So she is somebody who has been a very important documentary maker since the 1960s. We see the little cartoon there of Chicano Power. So this is the Mexican-American version of Black Power. And Morales was a very important figure in that movement. Again, she's a renowned documentary filmmaker, and her latest film is the image there on the right, A Crushing Love. So the next slide, please, Ron. Thank you. So I've been asked a lot of questions that come up time and time again, you know, since I've been an ambassador, and I thought it might be helpful to perhaps preempt some of the, you know, questions that will come up and, you know, how I would respond to them. So first of all, as people are aware, I'm sure it's important to put a lot of thought into where you go. And that's true also in terms of the faculty and the context that you will make and so on, because that really is key to your application. And you do need to explain why you're going to a certain place. So I suppose in my case, it was fairly obvious that California would be a place where Mexican studies is a very important field of inquiry. And that's where you come in contact with a lot of Mexican and Mexican-American culture, not just California, of course, but the Southern United States. And then why? So you've got to think about why you're going there in terms as well, of course, of the person who will be your main sponsor and your engagement with them. And it's really important to talk to your colleagues because they are the ones with the expertise.
I think Catherine's connection might be gone down.
Fulbright family, which is something that I think at times leads to a bit of eye rolling and cynicism. I have to say I've found has been very true in terms of the warmth and you know, the long lasting nature of the relationships that you form through your Fulbright connection. So I would just really encourage people that when they are on a Fulbright exchange to take every opportunity to engage with Fulbrighters, you know, because it is a really meaningful and long-lasting relationship. Then the other thing I've come across, and perhaps particularly for students, is maybe the sense that it's such a prestigious program and such a well-known program that maybe they're not eligible or they're not good enough. And I would say it is definitely for you. If you're interested and if you plan and do your research and you have very clear rationale as to where you're going and why, there's no reason whatsoever that you shouldn't apply. And I would strongly encourage you to, you know, because if you don't apply, you can't possibly, you know, be in with the opportunity to go. So I'd say definitely apply. Just make sure to do your research and have a good reason for going to the place that you're going. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. And 100%, I think a lot of the things Catherine said, I was about to say in my presentation, so true. I'm going to try and share my screen again, perhaps.
Yeah, if you
but
want
we'll
to.
see if that actually works.
Go for it.
Thank you. Mind you, I have to admit, Catherine, when I do hear that someone wants to go to California, I am a bit cynical. Like, I'd love to go to Vegas, I think, myself.
Oh no, it was purely for non-beach going reasons, I can assure you.
Fantastic, thank you. And like I said, Catherine's very willing to give her time as a campus ambassador. They're fantastic, phenomenal resources on campus. But just to let you know, there are some other Maynooth alumni who have gone and completed Fulbright awards. So these are just two other wonderful examples of Fulbrighters, Dr. Tanya Marie Cassidy and Professor Mary P. Corcoran, who are in Maynooth University. So then in terms of your eligibility, So the Irish Fulbright Awards are open to Irish citizens. So a common question is, I am Irish, I have an Irish passport, I live in 6 counties or Northern Ireland. Am I eligible to apply? Yes, you are. And EU citizens who've been resident in Ireland for 3+ years are also eligible to apply. You must demonstrate a strong rationale for where you want to go in the US, like Catherine said. You must comply with a 2-year home rule visa requirement. Now, this is a very disliked rule. If you go to the States on a Fulbright, and if you get married, and if you meet someone and you have American children, you still need to come home to Ireland and comply with that 2-year home rule. So that means you must come home for 2 years before you're eligible to get a visa to go and live and work in the United States again. People try to get around this rule and they can't. So you cannot be a US-Irish dual citizen. It's fine if you're German and Irish or French and Irish, you just cannot be American and Irish. You cannot be living in the United States at the time of the application. And you shouldn't have recent extensive experience of studying or living in the US, which we take to mean that you spent 4 of the last 5 years in the United States. And where 2 candidates are kind of very close in markings at the interview level, preference is generally given to the person who doesn't have extensive experience in the United States. Process then, I hear from many academics that although it is quite a tough application, it's not as lengthy as others. So every year in late August, the applications competition opens. So have a look at our website. Now's the time to get planning. And then you register your interest on our website around August 31st. And then around Halloween time, the application period closes. Between November and December, myself and my fellow awards manager, we find 3 experts to review your application. And then in January and February, those who've been selected to attend interview will be offered their interviews, which generally take place in our offices in Dublin. And then March is kind of a bittersweet month because we have the pleasure of telling people that they were successful, but we also have to let the unsuccessful people know as well. So definitely, it's fantastic you're attending this talk today. You can ask myself, Rowan, and Catherine questions. Definitely get reviewing the information on our website. Choose an award. So are you a student, scholar, FLTA, Tech Impact? I'll talk more about those in 2 minutes. Find a course or plan your research proposal. So we don't match you for the student awards, for example. You need to find out where in the United States you want to go. Figure out if you're in music or if you're in psychology, where is doing cutting edge research in your field in the United States. Research what it means to be a Fulbrighter. Fulbright is really about the greater good. It's not just about you. It's not just about what you intend to do in the classroom or what you intend to do in the lab. It's also about the greater good. So say you're going to do maths in the States, you're going to lecture maths, but it's also about, do you speak Irish? Do you play Gaelic football? Are you interested in Black Lives Matter? On that cultural engagement side of things, what are you going to do besides your research? That's very, very, very important, and how you want to give back. So what are you going to bring with you from Ireland to the States? And what are you going to bring home from the United States? And then you register your interest in our website. So these are the different award categories. The Irish Student Awards are postgraduate research. So Fulbright is all postgraduate. So if you wish to complete a PhD or partial PhD or a master's in the United States, you'll go as a student. So postgraduate degree programs. Then the Scholar Awards are generally for people who have PhDs or 5 years relevant professional experience. They're for academic or professional research or lecturing. Then the Tech Impact Awards are academic research for professional research with the focus on ICT. And the FLTA Awards, chun Gaeilge a bhunas na stát aontaithe to go and teach Irish in the United States. And then the Fulbright Schumann Awards are slightly different again in the sense that they're managed by our colleagues in the Belgian Commission. They're for academic or professional study, research, or to lecture. So the Student Awards these are for visiting researchers or degree-seeking students. So the majority of the students that we give Fulbrights to are generally going to the States to do a part of their PhD, generally in their 2nd or the 3rd year of their PhD. You must establish your own affiliation or apply for a degree course within the US. And the minimum amount of time you can go on a Fulbright Student Award is for 4 months, and the maximum amount of time is 12 months. Now, if you're going to do a 2-year master's degree in the States, the Commission will fund the 1st year, and you'll have to find your own funding for the 2nd year. And the maximum award amount for the student awards that you can receive is €30,000. Now, if you're going to somewhere very expensive like New York, you will get a higher stipend because the cost of living is higher in New York than say it is in Idaho or Montana. So that's how it's calculated. They take into consideration the cost of flights, but also just the general cost of living. Then the Irish Scholar Awards, you must possess a PhD or 5 years relevant professional experience in the field in which you're doing your research or your lecturing. These are to research or lecture in the US. You must establish your own affiliation with the US institution in which you're going to. And yes, quite often people just send out cold emails saying, hi, my name is such and such. I'm applying to go to do a Fulbright in the United States. I'm interested in doing research in your institution. And the time frame is slightly different. The minimum duration is 3 months and the maximum is 12 months. And the maximum award is €35,000. And I should mention as well that we don't pay the cost for dependents. Unfortunately, we don't have the budget to pay the cost of dependents to a company. But quite often scholars and sometimes students bring their families and they enroll in school. Their children enroll in school in the United States as well. So it's a very much so cultural engagement then. Then the Tech Impact Scholar Awards are for scholars or professionals in any discipline using ICT. You must possess a PhD or 3 to 5 years relevant professional experience, and preference is given to early career researchers. And so your PhD conferred since 2019, and they're for non-commercial research exploring transfer of ICT. Very short, they're for 2 weeks to 3 months in duration, and the maximum award is €11,000. Now in the FLTA Awards, chun gaeilge a bhuanas na stáit aontaithe, beidh tú a ghlacha rangana tú féin mar bhaclainn agus beidh tú múna na gaeilge. I know that Maynooth has a very distinguished and long history with the Irish language, with rangna grownig, simple lessons in Irish agus eile, so it's my tnúla neart irtis o Ulscoil Maynooth. One of the main differences with the FLTA Awards to teach the Irish language is that you do not seek your own affiliation. We place you in the best institute for you. Say, for example, Notre Dame may apply to host an FLTA and they may like someone who has a PhD. Montana may want someone who is gailing the moon and plays hurling. It all varies. We kind of take into consideration what will Tussigree and also what the requirements of that host institution is. It includes room, board, tuition fees, stipend, travel, and programming in the United States. You must have an undergraduate degree. Tahi Muntorta agus Gaeilge Líofa, and they are for 10 months duration. So then sponsored awards. If you can apply for a sponsored award, I would strongly advise you to apply for a sponsored award, because if you apply, say, for example, to the EPA award and you're deemed unsuccessful for this award, you'll then be considered for the All Disciplines Award. So you are increasing your chances. And naturally enough, we in the Commission, we get fantastic applicants, but unfortunately our budget doesn't extend to fund every candidate that we'd like to fund. So obviously we'd like to use the budgets we receive from other organizations where possible. So the sponsor awards can be in target areas like creativity, environment, cybersecurity, etc. Closer to the time on our website before you apply to double check what the specific requirements are. And we're always more than welcome to phone our office or to pop us a quick email. But at the end of the day, regarding sponsored awards, you know your research better than we do. So you are the best person to kind of determine if you're suitable for a sponsored award or not. You must fill out a sponsored award form in your application, but definitely worth it considering. So some of our sponsored awards, some of them are for both students and scholars. For example, the Enterprise Ireland Award in Innovation and Business, the EPA Award in Water, Climate Change and Substantive Environment, GSI Award in Geoscience. Then for students only, we have the Creative Ireland Museum Fellowships, LLMs, naturally Masters in Law. I think LLMs are pretty synonymous with high tuition fees. So we have 3 institutions that we have fee waivers organised with. And then the Teagasc Award is also for students only in agriculture, forestry or food. And then the Scholar Only Awards, the HRB Health Impact Award for health professionals, NUI Scholar Award for early career postdocs, so NUI graduates like Maynooth, Creative Ireland Scholar Fellowship for Professionals, then the Tech Impact Awards for short-term research, and then the Tech Impact Cybersecurity Award at Boston College. And I think my internet's getting too slow again, so I apologize. Sorry, I think I already have a question, do I? I'm going to ask Rowan, can he kindly start sharing my slides if he doesn't mind? So there's a question here, can we pick absolutely any university in the United States? Is there a specific list of universities to choose from? Yes, you can pick any. So definitely be creative as well. I'm working with the Commission 5 years now. I've yet to encounter someone, please correct me if I'm wrong, that has gone to either North or South Dakota. Fulbright's all about diversity, which includes institutional diversity. So it's kind of boring if everyone on the interview wants to go to MIT, Harvard, and the same few institutes. I want to see more people going to Kansas and North and South Dakota. Thank you, Rowan, for that. So in the application requirements, your personal information of the CV, a personal statement or a Fulbright statement. Fulbright really is about people. So the personal statement is about you, what makes you special, why we should select you for this award. Then your project statement is more so about obviously your actual award. 3 recommenders, so your 3 recommenders, your 3 referees, and they have the same deadline as you have. So make sure to pick 3 recommenders who will submit on time. Then your transcripts, if you're student applicants, scholars do not need to provide transcripts. A copy of your passport and samples of work for artists, 3 hard copies if you're an artist, and a letter of affiliation for your researchers or scholars. So that letter of affiliation is a letter from your host institution saying they're going to accept you for the Fulbright Award. And we understand that for students, it may not be possible to obtain the letter of affiliation in time for a deadline. We are flexible in that regard, because obviously there's thousands of institutions in the States and all their deadlines for accepting students do not exactly line up with our deadlines, naturally enough. Sorry, next slide, please, Rowan. So preparing for your application. So why is your research groundbreaking? Why is it different? Why does it warrant a Fulbright? Like Catherine alluded to earlier, you need a strong rationale for going to the United States. Areas you will concentrate on. Now, we are kind of flexible in the sense that we understand you may be going to the States to do X, Y, and Z, and it may slightly evolve, and that's okay. Explain the research question and objectives, methodology, and expected results. And what impact will this have on your discipline, research, and career? Sorry, next slide, please, Rowan. But now is definitely time to get preparing your application. Then in regards to personal state, it is about you personally. Tell us about you, your personal and professional ambitions, motivations, interests. What do you hope to achieve in the US and upon your return? Definitely research the role of being a Fulbrighter. I cannot emphasize that enough. And please do not rehash your study objective essay or CV. And remember, this is an indication of your written communication. Next slide, please, Ron. And then diversity and inclusion, like I said, diversity definitely means diversity of institution, but obviously we welcome candidates from underrepresented communities, areas of research, home organizations and higher institutions of education, geographical areas, ethnicities and ability. Next question, please. And then finding a host. So who do you want to work with? So research experts in your field. Like I said, we welcome diversity wherever you want to go. Reach out to Fulbright Irish and US alumni. They're a fantastic resource. Use existing Fulbright links, sponsors. Ask your mentors, ask people like Catherine. Ask your Fulbright ambassador. Select a degree or choose a host institution, but it should definitely make sense. Next slide, please. It should be very much so, I need to go here because they're experts in X, Y, or Z, and we don't do this here in Ireland. So in the Fulbright Creative Ireland Museum Fellowships, so the research opportunities open to student category only to apply to the Harry Ransom Centre or the Exploratorium or the Smithsonian. Now, I've been to the Exploratorium and the Smithsonian, and they're amazing institutes, and I am very jealous of anyone who gets to spend 3 months here. Each award has specific eligibility criteria, so refer to the flyers. But especially the Smithsonian, for anyone who maybe hasn't been to DC, they have so many different museums all around the city. So there's such a wide variety of catalogues, which I'm sure the other two have as well, but there's quite a large area that you can do research in. So definitely have a look at these if you're in the creative kind of space. You must seek a letter of support from the host included in your application. Rowan's well ahead of me. Brilliant. Next slide, Rowan. Excellent. Thank you. Then the LLMs. So these are for tuition waivers available at Indiana Moore School of Law. I don't believe we've had anyone go to this institute yet, so definitely have a look at that. Notre Dame and Penn Law as well. So the above LLM courses have guaranteed fee waivers. You should seek similar waivers if needed from other LLMs before applying to Fulbright. Be aware, if you're applying for an LLM or any other masters, it can be very, very expensive. And unfortunately, our max kind of stipend we'll give a student is €30,000, which is tax-free, but unfortunately our budgets don't extend further. There are some institutes in the States that if a student receives a Fulbright award, they will then offer that Fulbrighter a fee waiver. But unfortunately, no one has put together a substantial list, a definite list of all institutes in the thousands of institutes in the States who will provide that fee waiver. But it is a happy event when it happens. Next slide, please, Ron. And then the associate awards. So Florida Poly STEM Graduate Assistantship for master's degree and graduate assistantship in STEM programs includes direct payment for services as teaching and or research assistant and tuition support. University of Southern California, MSc or PhD programs. MSc in an engineering or computer science discipline, partial tuition waivers for MSc programs, engineering, computer science PhD program in broad range of disciplines, and full financial support. Next slide, please. And then the review and interview. So at the review stage, like I said, myself, my colleague Sonia, the other awards manager, after we review your application for completeness, we then send it out to 3 expert reviewers in your field from Ireland and abroad who do not know you. So if your home institution is Maynooth, we will avoid sharing your application with a reviewer from Maynooth University. The review stage will focus on your academic record and your project statement. And like I said, be read by people who are experts in your field. And it'll be less so focused on the culture engagement and the Fulbright fit and the leadership side of things. And leadership is very important, as in they want to see if you're a scholar who's applying, they want to see that you are a leader in your field, or if you're a student, they're trying to gauge your leadership potential. And then at the interview stage, it kind of flips. There's less of an emphasis on the academics record and the project statement, and the focus then shifts to the cultural engagement and the leadership side of things. Now, at the interview stage, you'll be interviewed by 3 people who are Fulbright alum generally, but they probably will not be an expert in your field. You may be a historian, and no one on the panel may be a historian. So you should be able to kind of sell your project to people who may not be experts in your field. So that's the interview and the review stage. Next slide, please. And then the Schumann Awards, these are different, as in they're applied through the Belgian Commission, and the application timeline is different. They open in December, not in August. They're for EU-US relations. They're co-funded by the European Union. They're in relations policy or EU affairs. They're awards for postdoctoral research and lecturing for scholars, or pre-doctoral research for students. International educators will be matched with US institution. Innovation awards supporting research at the intersection of technology and policy. And they're open to applicants from all EU member states. So please let us know if you're applying for a Schumann Award. And also, it's worth bearing in mind, you can apply for 1 Fulbright award each year. So either an FLTA, a student, a scholar, or a Schumann. You may not apply for more than 1 in the same year. And next slide, please, Rowan. However, it is quite common for someone not to be awarded a Fulbright and then to reapply the next year or in the subsequent year and receive the award then. Then obviously we send Fulbrighters from Ireland to the US. We also take in Fulbrighters from America. So we have the US Student Awards for postgrad research and degree programs. We have the US Scholar Awards, people again with 5 years professional experience or PhDs coming to lecture in Ireland or to do research. The US Specialist Awards are academic professional short-term awards. The US Global Scholar Awards are academic professionals in more than one country. And then you have the Schumann Awards that are quite similar to the Irish Schumann Awards. Next slide, please. So the US Awards in Ireland. So the US Special Awards, we get 5 of these US specialists a year. And the institution, say, for example, Maynooth, applies to the commission to host one of these. They must address a critical priority area in Maynooth University. They're a very short-term award, 2 to 6 weeks. They open from June to September 2021 for the 2020 academic year visit. The roster of specialists is available. The specialists can also be invited. So generally, these are people who are undertaking a Fulbright award in another European Union country. So the award is for a US scholar professional to lecture. And then the US, these are a list of all the different student and scholars sponsored awards in Ireland. So we've sponsored awards for students with RCSI, DCU and UCD, and the Hula and Art Gallery. I'd love to see Maynooth there in the future. So these are awards for US students and scholars to research or lecture in Ireland. The way we had the list of EPA, Teagasc and whatnot, this is just the flip side, obviously. And we have that sponsored scholar award in social sciences with Maynooth University. Next slide, please, Ron. So they're open October to December annually. And then the next steps, reach out to your recommenders. I frequently get asked, oh, can I see my recommenders? You can't, they are confidential, but obviously pick people who will sing your praises. Select your host or host institutions. Now, it is rare enough for someone to go to more than one academic institution. Well, definitely for students anyway, but it is allowed. Research the ethos of Fulbright, talk to a Fulbrighter, follow us on social media, and pop us a quick email to awards@fulbright.ie, and definitely research our website on fulbright.ie. And as Rowan is popping in the chat, if you have any questions for myself, Rowan, or Catherine, please. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank Catherine for her fantastic work in Maynooth, for promoting Fulbright, and for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much, Paula. An absolute pleasure.
Yeah, so
I wondered, do we have any?
Yeah, thank you to everyone for attending. If you do have a question, pop it in. Now is the time. Or forever hold your peace. But as Paula said, we're an approachable bunch. You can we do have a question about percentage of applicants that are successful, but I know from the last webinar that's information that we tend not to share. But okay, another question flying in there. In my final year Irish, so any extra advice or info on FLTA would be great. So Paula,
Erin,
you are the queen of FLTA, so
I don't know if the FLTAs would like being told that. Definitely still do research on what it means to be a Fulbrighter. Be exmuina fri conisquelga vunas na have you teaching experience? If you do not have teaching experience, definitely look into getting some teaching experience. Possibly even have a think about teaching online. So when Fulbright hit, we did give the option to the Fulbrighters who were in the US and the Americans in Ireland. They had the option of staying in their host countries or return home. Some returned home. Some FLTAs have been doing a bit of teaching on Irish because of COVID. We expect this to be over by the time ye embark and go off teaching Irish in the States, but you never know. So perhaps maybe look into teaching Irish online, and definitely keep your grades up, because you need a 2-1 to apply in your undergraduate degree. Or if you get a 2-2, you can top up your undergrad by doing a Maastricht or a postgraduate in Irish, and get 2-1 in that, you can find and you can apply. But in terms of, as Rowan said, we do not release the percentages of applicants who are successful. But if I can give Erin a hint, the FLTA awards sometimes can be slightly less competitive than the other awards. If you're thinking of applying, please do. And it is just a fantastic opportunity. So thank you for that.
So another one that popped in there in regards to the LLM, contacting host institutions, do you recommend sending an email? And also, is there a grade requirement?
Grade requirement is the same, 2-1 in your undergraduate degree. Definitely contact your different host institutions. So what type of lawyer do you want to be if you're going into, I don't know, data protection law, if that's the thing, family law? Reach out, think about what masters you want to do in law in the States. I know Notre Dame have a fantastic international human rights law. Think about that yourself, about what type of law you want to practice, and have a look at the different modules. But definitely email them, have a look at their international office, and research where you think is the best fit for you. And I definitely ask them about what fee waivers they would give, because even say potentially, and I don't want to ruin any hopes and dreams here, but if we give you a 30,000 living stipend, the fees may still be 60,000 US dollars. So definitely consider that.
And just wanted to shout out to Lorraine in the chat there, who helps me an awful lot organizing this event. She's popped in with a question asking if we could share the slides. Yeah, I'm gonna send on the video, so there'll be a link to the video, and also I'll send on the slides, Lorraine, and thanks a million for all your help. Okay, another question that popped up there. Final year graduates less likely to get it? I don't think that's
No, Rowan's dead right. You're more than eligible to apply. If you have a BA, you're eligible to apply. However, the only thing I will say is some universities want an FLTA. So the FLTA host institutions apply to Fulbright in the US to host an FLTA, and you apply to us to be an FLTA, and then I match you. But some institutions give preference to someone with a master's or PhD. But say if you have an undergraduate degree and you don't have a postgrad, we will place you in an institution that doesn't mind that you don't have a master's or PhD. But you are definitely eligible to apply. And I definitely involve you all to get involved with Coolocht and Gaeilge in Ollscoil Maynooth to strengthen your CV before you apply. And we'd love to see more people setting up branches of Cunner and Gaeilge and GAA clubs and everything on their FLTA awards in the future. So think about those things. Think outside the box.
perfect. So yeah, I think you've kind of answered the final question there as well. You don't need a master's in Irish before applying. Cool. So I think that's all the questions that have popped up. Thanks a million for everyone for attending. As I said, Lorraine is, I'll send around an email to Lorraine and all of you who have registered with the link and a link to the video and the slides. Thanks a million, Catherine, for coming along, and Paula for your amazing presentation.
And thanks, Rowan, for organizing.
Thank you both very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.